The cure for Democratic demoralization is simple. Fight back against Trump and other Republicans. Gavin Newsom learned that the hard way. But damn it, it's working! I'm Amanda Marcotte. Welcome to Standing Room Only. Before Donald Trump's demoralizing victory in November, Gavin Newsom was building up his reputation as a political brawler. The California governor was willing to go toe-to-toe with even the creepiest of MAGA people. In 2023, he even had a faux presidential debate with Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida.
This is a map of San Francisco. There's a lot of plots on that. You may be asking, what is that plotting? Well, this is an app where they plot the human feces that are found on the streets of San Francisco.
Please tell me that somebody has just done a rap remix of Ron DeSantis saying human feces over and over again. Newsom's theatrics have annoyed some people, but it's hard to deny that they're effective. When I'm speaking to people that aren't political junkies like myself, there are two Democrats they always ask me about. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who we've already done a show about, and Gavin Newsom. But then Trump won and a bunch of Democrats panicked. Trump's victory was tiny, but he kept saying it was a landslide, and I think that got into a lot of Democratic heads. And they decided that Democrats need to move to the right. Newsom became the face of this mistake. In an ill-fated effort to make nice with MAGA, Newsom started a podcast where he promised honest discussions with people who disagree with you without demeaning them. But that goal was undermined when he interviewed MAGA leaders like Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon, people whose entire careers have been made by demeaning other people.
Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. It is an issue of fairness.
So
it's deeply unfair.
Would you speak?
I'm not going to join you in attacking Trump on this podcast, even though you would like me to. But speaking,
no, we're getting along, Trump and I.
The purpose I want to do this is I want to convert you to be a tariff guy also.
And by the way, for the record, I'm going down your rabbit hole right here. I'm not an absolutist as it relates to being against tariffs.
Stop trying to make tariffs happen. This was a problem with several Democrats, especially early in Trump's presidency. Some Democrats even voted for Trump's draconian immigration bill. Some of them backed Trump's federal nominations. And some of them even said nice things about Elon Musk.
Our bill really should appeal to advocates of free expression and the First Amendment, such as it has to Elon Musk, who's the foremost champion of free speech in the tech industry.
But Newsom soon found out that playing nice with MAGA just isn't going to work. And that was in the spring when Trump sent the military to California to terrorize the residents of Los Angeles because they're too pro-immigrant. But while Newsom had no choice but to fight back, you do have to hand it to him. He rose to the occasion.
Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy. You know, I don't give a damn. But I care about my community. I care about this community. The hell are they doing?
And of course, Trump chickened out. Then Newsom sued the White House over this whole situation. But most importantly, this has really uncorked something in Newsom where he's now speaking bluntly about Trump and the MAGA movement.
Trump is pulling a military dragnet all across Los Angeles, well beyond his stated intent to just go after violent and serious criminals. His agents are arresting dishwashers, gardeners, day laborers, and seamstresses. That's just weakness masquerading as strength. Donald Trump's government isn't protecting our communities, they're traumatizing our communities. And that seems to be the entire point.
Ever since, Newsom has actually become one of the loudest voices in the Democratic Party talking back to Trump and his administration. And yes, a lot of it is trolling and childish insults, but it's deeply gratifying, and don't we deserve that?
I mean, Speaker Johnson, what a joke he is. We could talk about the big, beautiful betrayal.
Every day I wake up and I ask myself, how am I going to be the biggest pain in the ass?
And there was a poll that just came out today that my approval rating is the highest it's ever been.
You're delusional, boy, you're losing your mind.
Newsom especially likes trolling Trump on Twitter, X. And that is shaming Trump on his home turf because it has become a ghost town for all the normal people. I mean, the site these days is mostly incels, white nationalists, and porn bots. But when Newsom goes after Trump on Twitter, it actually does break into the national news cycle a lot of the time, often because his jokes are pretty funny. Like when he called Stephen Miller a cuck.
Well, it's a response to Stephen Chung in the White House and his use of that word. I don't think they understand any other kind of language, so I have no apologies for standing tall and firm.
I stand tall and firm. I don't slouch over in the corner like Stephen Miller, the cuck. Audience, if you don't know why Stephen Miller is specifically a cuck, I encourage you to look it up. He's been trolling the hell out of Trump on Twitter over the Epstein files, including the use of the Nickelback meme that was pretty spectacular.
Look at this photograph. It's a photo of a photograph. There's another freaking photograph because I photographed a photograph.
Or the Coldplay couple cheating meme.
When you try your best but you don't succeed.
Nor is Newsom just taking it to Trump. Jesse Waters of Fox News lied about Newsom on air, saying that he had agreed to deploy the military to California when he definitely had not. Newsom went and then sued Waters for defamation, which led to a delicious moment of Jesse Waters having to apologize to Newsom on air.
He didn't deceive anybody on purpose, so I'm sorry. He wasn't lying. He was just confusing and unclear. Next time, Governor, why don't you just say what you mean?
That really wasn't an apology. I want a groveling Waters apology. And let's not leave out Newsom going after the most loathsome character, J.D. Vance. He mocked J.D. for vacationing in Disneyland while Trump was setting the country on fire. He even accused Vance of wanting to detain Mickey Mouse. And Vance replied, "Had a great time." He probably thought that was a sick burn, but because it's J.D. Vance, it always sounds whiny. So the point goes to Gavin. I'll be talking about this later during Pass the Mic with my guest, Sophia Tesfaye. Look, I don't love Gavin Newsom. I think the guy's a showboat, and he's often only doing this stuff because it's popular and it gets him attention. But I do have to point out he is backing up the tough talk with action. He's threatened retaliation if Texas Republicans gerrymander themselves more seats in Congress. California also keeps suing Trump more than they did during the first term. For instance, Newsom sued the White House over blocking funding for a high-speed railroad. And that particular lawsuit shows that Democrats don't have to choose between picking fights with Trump and highlighting their popular policy positions. I guarantee that more people are actually talking about the benefits of high-speed rail now that Newsom has picked this fight. Telling people Trump is taking something away from them gets more people interested in that thing, like it or not. Take the Epstein files. The more that Trump hides them, the more that people really want to see them. Again, I'm not a Newsom fan. I don't trust the guy. He's a weather vane. As we covered in our earlier episode, I think that politicians like AOC or Zohran Mamdani are better at this. They feel more authentic because they are more authentic. But it's critical for all Democrats to look at what Gavin Newsom is proving. Fighting Trump is popular. It's not Democratic policies that people hate. Poll after poll shows that people prefer Democratic policies to Republican policies. No, it's Democrats that people loathe. They think that they're feckless and that they're weak. The cure for that is to fight back against Republicans, especially Trump. You don't have to like Newsom to learn this one lesson from him. The best way to not look weak is to stand up for yourself. I'd like to welcome my guest, Sophia Tesfaye. She's my colleague at Salon. She's also a senior politics writer, and she's from California, so we especially wanted to hear from her about this particular topic. Welcome to Standing Room Only, Sophia.
Hi, Amanda. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
So we'll start with that intro. You're from California. You know the politics of the place really well. Give the viewers sort of an idea of what Gavin Newsom's reputation is like in California. I mean, I know he's a Democrat. He obviously wins. That's a blue state. But what is the diversity of opinion of him there?
It's really diverse because he has a really long history in the state. He's been around for decades as a public figure, first as the mayor of San Francisco, where he took on iconic stances like fighting against Prop 8 for same-sex marriage in the state when The rest of the country was very much, in the George W. Bush era, going in the opposite trend. So he comes from a really storied history of fighting Republicans. I think the pandemic, COVID lockdown certainly did a number on his general reputation in the state. I think there was a lot of backlash, as we all saw. He defeated the recall attempt and survived because California is, as you mentioned, a blue state. I think in the second Trump era, he's kind of garnered even more of a mixed legacy or reputation. His podcast, he's gone into content creation, which I think has been like iffy territory. He started off talking to Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon, which I think angered a lot of Democrats nationwide. In the state of California specifically, he also at the same time did things like making big hay of going to clean up. By clean up, I mean throw out the possessions of unhoused people and these homeless camps. And so there's like not just a duality is like too simple of a term. There's a lot of contradictions within Gavin Newsom that he, I think, attempts to explain as being well informed and well connected to the diverse electorate and trying to be plugged in everywhere. That's what, hence speaking to Steve Bannon. Because as he noted, his son was getting via YouTube into some of the right-wing content that was promoted by the likes of Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon.
Literally last night, trying to put my son to bed. He's like, no, Dad, what time? What time's Charlie going to be here? What time? And I'm like, dude, you're in school tomorrow. He's 13. He's like, no. This morning, wakes up at 6 something. He's like, I'm coming.
But he went about that just completely differently than I think a lot of people wanted to see. I think a lot of people do agree with him that it's a trend that a lot of young men are attracted to these right-wing influencers, but then the way to deal with it is to try to get them away from that. And I think he just misfired so badly on that front. What the normal electorate wants is advice on how to keep your son from going down that particular path.
Yeah, I think for him, he comes from this history of befriending Sean Hannity of Fox News, engaging, right, in the arena as he
and he was married to Kimberly Guilfoyle.
There you go. That's right. Who then moved on to Donald Trump Jr. So, the universes overlap in the most bizarre ways. So yeah, I do think, like, it rightfully angered a lot of people, and it confused people because it's, what is resistance? Is it engagement? Is it like a hard line? How do you resist Donald Trump? And I don't think he's figured that out. I mean, who has really, to be fair? So yeah, I think he's walking away and currently in a really mixed state. I think like the fires brought on in January earlier this year, brought on a lot of criticism, but they also, Californians at the end of the day are extremely defensive of California.
They get attacked a lot.
Exactly. It's not a beleaguered state on the merits, for most of the merits outside of housing, which is a huge problem. But it's overly attacked from the right, from the left, from the middle, and so
if California sucks, why do so many people want to live there,
Simple question. And so Newsom gets the benefit of that defense. They're going to defend the governor because, they love the state.
He hit really low approval ratings at the time he started that podcast, but I think it's helping him a lot to be seen punching back to Trump again. I think that's where he's in his happy space, frankly.
And you see that on social media. His social media accounts on X and TikTok are, I think, pretty impressive. Like how the engagement there is different. I think engaging on social media kind of makes sense when it's the governor himself taking time away from his daily duties to go speak to Steve Bannon. You're left scratching your head,
especially since he didn't talk back to him enough. But yeah, no, I think if he's going to run for president, continuing down this path is the smart move of just constantly trolling Trump and these people.
And they do I don't know if you've seen some of the clapbacks, for lack of a better term, right? Like they're just they're on the level of Republican rapid response. And that's like some of the only Democrats I see who are actually engaging quickly, effectively, comically, it's in the internet language. Like some of the stuff, a lot of the Democrats I've seen this year engage are always a beat or two after the trends. And you can't do that. I mean, you can't do that in today's internet. You have to be fast. And the Kamala Harris campaign, to her credit, did that last cycle. That didn't win the election. But, I think that's not the worst model to follow. And I think that's what Gavin Newsom's team is doing.
Honestly, one of the best examples of how Newsom is just owning these mofos is his going after J.D. Vance on Disneyland, which was, I think, genuinely effective, even if it wasn't particularly that funny. Like, as a writer, I'm like, saying he wants to detain Mickey Mouse is, C+ material. But the way that J.D. Vance reacted, really boosted it, which is he whined like the baby that he is. Newsom just needs, more politicians to go to Disneyland where he can just troll them.
I think his trolling, J.D. Vance is such an easy target. He himself engages in social media that allows himself to, he's always defending himself. He's always defending Trump and whining. And so I think it's smart to go after J.D. Vance because he'll bite.
Well, and he might be the presidential nominee. That's what a lot of people are thinking at this point. And wouldn't, J.D. Vance versus Gavin Newsom on the debate stage, I think it would be just the idea of that would make a lot of people vote for Gavin Newsom, just knowing that he would just troll J.D. Vance in person.
I just hope he doesn't invite him onto the podcast first. That's what I fear. That seems to be, the content creation. I want him to maybe draw back on that a bit.
I want to hear Gavin Newsom ask about Mama Peepaw. That would be funny.
I mean, this is a little off tangent, but I would love for him to return to Joe Scarborough, where he on Morning Joe, and he made his bones and made his mark in the political discourse every morning, droning on about Mima and people and his family that he left behind. I would love that to be revisited. Let's have a serious conversation, because he goes on to these other podcasts, or he did during the campaign. I'm not really following J.D. Vance that closely now in his podcast appearances, but and he would spend hours talking to these people. And I think that if Gavin Newsom is going to engage, maybe that is the kind of let's actually engage him, because he is in a position of power. So Steve Bannon, but J.D. Vance, there's something there that he's already put on paper, right? And let's dig into it.
I would like to see Gavin Newsom go after J.D. Vance on his connections to all these Silicon Valley billionaires. I think that's something that a lot of average Americans don't know about. And if the more they knew about it, I think it would help them understand that this Mima Peepaw crap is just a front, and that J.D. Vance is actually just a rich little spoiled boy. The way he acts is closer to who he has become. Now, I'm not denying that he grew up that way, but I am saying that he has so and totally immersed himself in the class of elite right-wingers that's why his affect is so annoying. And it's because he's financed by and backed up by these Silicon Valley billionaires and they see him as one of their own. And because Silicon Valley is in California, I think Newsom would have some real moral authority if he wanted to go there. He might be afraid of alienating some of his donors as well, and that's where he becomes a compromised character, and why I would like somebody else like AOC to actually rise up. But that he's a fighter, I think, is going to help him a lot during the primary process.
It would help him in California if he went a little bit against Silicon Valley himself and did some of that calling out. I think the Californians, correctly identify Silicon Valley as the root of a lot of the inequality in the state. So, yeah, but that's not where Newsom or Democrats in the state writ large are actually willing to go, because it's such an economic engine.
Shifting gears to talk about some other Democrats that maybe feel a little less politically compromised, but are learning the Gavin Newsom, punch back lesson. Just this week, Cory Booker really made some news by not only going against the Senate bill that was for police funding, that there was objections from a lot of Democrats because they felt like Trump is punishing blue states for resisting him by depriving them of funding. But then he went after other Democrats who voted for the bill, basically calling them sellouts.
This, to me, is the problem with Democrats in America right now, is we're willing to be complicit to Donald Trump to let this pass through when we have all the leverage right now there is to say, if you're as passionate about police as we are, then pass bills out of this body that will help the police officers in Washington, that will help the police officers in Illinois, that will help the police officers in New Jersey, that will help the police officers in New York. Don't be complicit to the President of the United States. We are standing at a moment where our president is eviscerating the Constitution of the United States of America, and we're willing to go along with that today.
What did you think of Cory Booker's speech? Do you think that this is the right move?
I mean, I think it was impassioned because it wasn't planned. From what I can see, it seemed like he genuinely was frustrated with his colleagues, his Democratic colleagues from Nevada.
Minnesota, I think.
Yes, that's right. I mean, Klobuchar, right. States that are not being punished by the Trump administration and who are getting the full funding for their law enforcement and other state needs. And New Jersey's not, right? So Cory Booker is just doing the basic work of constituent representation. That brings him again, like to ahead with his own Democratic colleagues is a real problem. And like that, Cory Booker is one of the most get along to go along, friendly, he's so amenable. That's his whole personality.
But he did that filibustery speech.
Right. So the resistance
got a lot of attention.
And like going against Democratic colleagues are, in my mind, two different things. And Catherine Cortez Masto from Nevada in particular, one of the Democrats Booker called out, has a history of supporting the second Trump administration. So, that is that acceptable in the Democratic Party is kind of the question to my mind, not whether or not Cory Booker should call it out or not. It's should Catherine Cortez Masto or any other purple state Democrat be allowed to support substantively the Donald Trump administration. It's particularly this Trump administration. Like the first one was bad. The second one is off the charts. Like Stephen Miller and Russ Vought have been given like a complete free rein to destroy the nation in my mind. And it's evident. So any Democrat, especially a senator, supporting the administration should be called out. Do I think Cory Booker's Senate floor impassioned speech was effective? I don't think so. I think that makes them look like they're fighting on the public stage, and it looks like, why is Chuck Schumer not having everyone in line? Like these are the questions that come to my mind. Why are the Dems still in disarray?
Well, this is where I'm going to have to disagree a little with you, because here's the thing. And this might just be that I torture myself by watching Morning Joe, while I'm getting ready, just to sort of know what the normie centrist Democrat vibe is of the day. And they, Mike Barnacle and Claire McCaskill were just like, Cory Booker should shut up. And this is, why are you fighting in public?
What I don't understand is he's yelling at two other Democrats. The Democrats have enough problems. They have enough problems.
You have Cory Booker unfairly criticizing two strong Democrats that are doing everything they can in their power to fight Donald Trump.
But the thing is, it's a good look. The fact that I got mad at them, I feel like says that there is at least a constituency of people like me who see Cory Booker as fighting the people that are making people dislike Democrats. I know so many people who really that want to vote for Democrats, and they will, but they don't want to be holding their nose while they do it. And so having somebody in the Democratic Party call out the very thing that's making people not want to vote for Democrats is refreshing. And maybe it will shame some people into behaving a little bit better. So I was fully on his side here. And I say do it in public, because if you just try to keep doing it behind closed doors, which I'm sure has been happening, we're going to continue to see these problems. We're going to continue to see Democrats like sliding over in Trump's direction, thinking that's going to help them. So
if they do this on issues like other issues, that completely fray the Democratic base, like Gaza and the funding of defensive weapons to Israel, that would be, I think, really remarkable and a huge change. But, you know, I completely see your point, and the fight is necessary. The public fight is necessary. And I would love if somebody had connected it to the vote yesterday to confirm Emile Bouvet and why we even have such a horrendous judicial nominee for contention. Because Democrats in the last Senate didn't support Biden's nominee for that. And so that's the same seat that Emile Bouvet gets to now take, right? And this is the connection of the Democrats lacking to not having that cohesion, always being in disarray when it matters. And then guess what? Who's never in disarray? The grand old party always gets it together. And that's, I think, that frustration that, yes, Booker should be calling it out. And I think it's great for the attention in the spotlight to be there. The full connection should be made. How did we get here?
Yeah.
Democrats are at fault on both ends.
Well, I challenge you to write this piece, Sophia. I think that would be really helpful. So this one, I fully admit I wrote with the intention of being mean. Usually these mic drop questions, I try to like have some fun with it, but it's also fun mean because my question is, where would you send JD Vance on his next vacation?
My gut reaction is alligator Auschwitz, but that's not right. I should not.
That's what I wrote down too.
Yeah, that's you first asked. That's what I say. Well, go to what you want to get built, right? Like have a taste of your own medicine.
Yeah, alligator Alcatraz for JD Vance.
I mean, all right, just send him back home. Like, obviously, he doesn't want to spend time with his family. He abandoned, is it Southeast Ohio? I don't know what part of Ohio he's from, but, like, I just send him back home.
I mean, I want to tease right now that we have an upcoming episode about JD Vance and whether he hates his family. And I'm glad that I'm not the only person who sees it.
I mean, let me not get into, like, personal family. I was going to say, like, some of the pictures out of Disneyland were...
Oh, no, I haven't seen them. Okay, I'm going to have to go look at them because I really want to see JD Vance standing in line for a ride with his kids at Disneyland. You know, honestly, I think that's my answer. Go send him back to Disneyland with his children, but this time don't have any nannies or wife to take care of him. He just has to take care of his own kids. I think that's hell on earth for him.
There you go. Mic drop.
Awesome. So... you work for us at Salon. You're awesome. You're a media critic, but I also want to ask you to kind of hype what's coming up next for you, Sophia.
Okay, next I'll be listening to Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens sit down for an in-depth interview together. And then look out also for my deep dive into Dr. Phil's media empire, or lack thereof. We don't know. Have you heard of it? It does exist. Oof. I will let you all know about it.
Oh, man, I can't wait. I thank you for watching Tucker and Candace speak, because if I have to do that myself, I think I'll lose my mind. I hope that they talk about the French president's wife again.
They absolutely, I know they will. I know they will.
Thank you so much, Sophia, for joining us on Standing Room Only. And folks, don't forget to like and subscribe and stick around for Encore. I have the song recommendation of the week for you. Hey everyone, I'm coming to you from Portland, Oregon. I'm at the Pabst Blue Ribbon Music Festival here with my buddy, this unicorn. Lots of bands playing today. Iggy Pop is playing with the Stooges, Devo. But today's song recommendation is a song by a band called Panicking. They're a new band, a relatively new band. I mean, they've been around for a few years, but they're very riot girly. They are also playing today, and I'm really excited to see them. So my song recommendation from them is called Loud Bark. It's off their newest album. They are well known for having a great live show. I haven't seen them yet, but I'm gonna see them in like a couple of hours. They were the buzzy band from last year. Like, they made a lot of like critics' top 10 album recommendations, and it's really no wonder, because they channel that Riot Girl sound, but they update it. They make it sound a little new, a little bit more modern. Perhaps a little more polished. Maybe some might think a little too polished, but that's where their live show really kicks in, where they can really let loose and show that they're very rock and roll. So the song today is Loud Bark. It's Mannequin Pussy. Check them out. If you want more Standing Room Only episodes, please hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Standing Room Only started as a newsletter, and it's free to read. Click the link to subscribe. I love tips. These political battles are playing out in our local communities, your family, your school, your neighborhood. If you have a story, go ahead and drop me a line, leave it in comments, and don't forget to subscribe.